Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us today on Perspectives. Nearly 60 years ago, President Lyndon Johnson, LBJ as we called him, signed into law legislation establishing a commemorative week starting on September 15th. The week, National Hispanic Heritage Week, celebrated U.S. Latinos, their culture, and their history. In 1988, the week was expanded to a full month as new legislation was signed into law by then-President Ronald Reagan. Well, the celebration begins on September 15th, as mentioned, as a starting point of Independence Days in several Latin American countries. The 30-day period also includes many dates of importance in the Hispanic community. The Hispanic population in the U.S. was nearly 64 million, according to 2022 stats, as Hispanics made up nearly 1 in 5 people in the United States. Now, that's a 19% of the population today. Tremendous growth compared to just 5% back in 1970, when the week of celebration was just a couple of years in the making. Well, 15 years ago, 2 local ladies in Mobile proposed forming a professional Hispanic business organization. They met with some local businessmen and professionals to share the vision of network and service. Their mission? To foster Hispanic economic and cultural development and to create sustainable prosperity for the benefit of the Gulf Coast region. The Hispanic American Business Association of the Gulf Coast was born. Our guest today on Perspectives, Dr. Leda Javier. She's the former president of the Hispanic American Business Association of the Gulf Coast, as well as founder and current project manager of the Continental Kitchen. And Sylvia Scoltetti. She is the current president of the Hispanic American Business Association of the Gulf Coast, and she's also overseeing this year's Mobile Latin Fest. Well, after a quick break this morning, we'll talk with our guests, Dr. Javier Farrell and Ms. Scoltetti, about the National Hispanic Heritage Month, the Hispanic American Business Association of the Gulf Coast, and Mobile Latin Fest, which presents a cultural sample of the rich diversity of Latin countries and communities. Perspectives continues in just a moment. And welcome back. Today we are talking about National Hispanic Heritage Month and a lot of the great activities, including Latin Fest, that's happening here on the Gulf Coast. Our very special guest today. Thank you all for joining us.
Our pleasure.
Let's talk a little history at first. I would guess probably you and I both were there when it happened for the week to be recognized by President Johnson. Tell me anything you can remember how that all came together and what did you hear when it happened? Because I'm sure there was conversation and dialogue in the communities.
There must have been. We were not in the political milieu. What is interesting is Ronald Reagan, the one that makes it a month. Because remember, he's from a side of the country where you have a high percentage of Hispanics. And he recognized the contribution of Hispanics to this community. And his Spanish-speaking people were here before the English-speaking people.
So that is correct.
It's important to remember history too.
Yes, that's very important because a lot of people either they don't know it or they've forgotten. And of course, that is the actual historical record of this country. Now, I definitely had to mention LBJ because he was from another state where the culture,
Texas.
Right, from Texas, and he was involved, if I remember correctly, in teaching in some of the schools where he was working with Hispanic students back before he became a U.S. senator and eventually a president.
I'm older than you, but I don't remember.
You remember that? Okay. I'm a history nut, so
good.
We love to mention those things. So you had 2 presidents who understood the importance, and they were able to get this through so that we have now a month to celebrate. Now, when we talk about the some of the dates that were tied into September 15th, how many of the different countries were involved in their independence happening somewhere in that area?
Oh my goodness,
that's
there's
amazing,
a lot of Latin American
Yeah.
countries that fall right in between those dates, including, of course, Columbus Day, October 12, and things like that. But yeah, it's. I don't know if it was by mistake or by coincidence or by design, but it happened.
And
which is good.
I guess maybe the aspect of what happened with the Mexican independence movement, maybe they were all working around those dates, because I found that amazing when I was looking the information up. And I said, oh my goodness, we've got several countries, and including countries of importance to both of you, where your heritage would be Puerto Rico and Brazil.
Brazil. Yeah, I feel this is very important because we try, it's a way to take a month, to celebrate the rich, our roots, our rich culture, for all these countries, So it's a month of, a few years ago, we started very small with a few country organizations celebrating. Right now, we see so many organizations, business celebrate the Hispanic Heritage Month.
Well, tell us, how are you able to pull everybody together? Because although they're all Hispanic people that's our culture, but a lot of nationalism these days when people are from different countries and they want that one to be number one or that one to be number two.
But this is not a competition, this is a celebration. We're so, our culture is so diverse. I come from Brazil, Puerto Rico, Argentina, Venezuela, South America, Central America, the Caribbean. We all celebrating, our culture. It's not celebrate one culture, it's celebrate all the culture. That's why is Hispanic Heritage Month, so that way we can showcase our diversity.
And is that easy to do, to bring everybody together?
It's not only the Hispanic community. The Mobile Latin Fest had as a goal, and that's why it started downtown with Art Walk, to integrate our community, not the Hispanic community alone, our international and national community. We are proud to be in the United States. Our children are growing here, our grandchildren, and all of a sudden, everybody can celebrate with their flag. Everybody brings their flag, and we can dance merengues from one country, and we can buy cumbia from our country, or there are drums from Brazil, and it makes everybody move, no matter where you are from. No matter what culture. You see the little kids, the little American kids born and raised in the United States just jumping. So that is the goal. It's not fighting, it's just the integration of our international community. You see the Germans there, you see everybody there.
Thank you all for bringing the flags with you today. Now, the other thing is also many of the men and women have married Americans, and so you have that combination of the cultures together too, right?
That's right. My poor husband married a Puerto Rican. It's not easy. My gringo redneck husband.
In reality, we are a melting pot.
Yes.
This country is a melting pot, not just a Latin culture, but we have so many from different areas, different countries. And that's the purpose that we start Latin Fest in 2021. Of course, with a partnership with the City of Mobile, with our sponsors, we said we need to unite the community. We need to express and show our culture. And we start with 5 food vendors, 1 small band, with partnership with the Art Walk. And late and I was like, are
people going to show up? The pandemic was just finishing. I said, are they going to show up? All of a sudden, 5,000 people were there. We had a problem because we couldn't feed them. There was no food.
Ran out of food.
We ran out of food. We were never expecting such. The next year was 8,000 people. It was beyond our expectation. It's 9 board members, volunteers, professionals that have their own job that organized this monster.
And where was the first one?
She is the mastermind behind all this. She's a party crazy lady.
Tell us, where was the first one for those who may not remember?
Actually, we start with conjunction with Art Walk in downtown Mobile at the Cathedral Square.
Okay,
and that's why we start our first Latin Fest. The 2022, we still did at Cathedral Square, but we're running out of space because that's a problem, but it's a good problem to have.
People, right.
So 2023, we decided to do at the Cathedral Square and then start second day at the Mardi Gras Park. So the partnership also was the Mardi Gras Park with Saturday Coop. At the time, the Cooper Park was closed, so all the events was at the Mardi Gras Park. So I asked, the organizer of Saturday Coop, I said, usually how many people comes to Saturday Coop? And I said, well, between 30 and 300. I looked to the board and said, well, if we have 1,000, I think we made it. We have over 3,000 people on Saturday.
My goodness.
So we decided that this year we're going to do a full day event because we cannot grow more in the Cathedral Square. A full day event at the Mardi Gras Park.
And we have to give a shout out, I'm sorry, to Shonda Smith from the city of Mobile. She was the one that we brought the idea, and she says, let's do it. And I said, no, but next year, no, let's do it now. 3 months before the months, we were going crazy. The Downtown Alliance gave us a small grant, and with that money, we could pay for the band. And we said, the Hispanic Association will pay for the rest, because this is something we need to showcase what the Hispanics are contributing to this community, how we can integrate to the community, how we're economic and workforce development force. And it was beyond the craziest expectations. So we are so happy and always afraid, but happy.
Well, it's probably more than 3,000. Now, Sylvia, I'm sure that Mardi Gras Park ties into a little familiarity with you and being from Brazil.
Absolutely. Yes, I love it. Yeah, it's a great park, it's the space, the infrastructure, the logistics is a great place to have. And unfortunately, our Batucada band is not be able to be this year, but we have a lineup of great artists, musicians, dancers, and food.
Hold that point when we come back. We'll talk more about that, as well as some of the other ventures that the organization is now into. Thank you for joining us today on Perspectives. Our very special guest, we're talking about National Hispanic Heritage Month, as well as some of the other things like Latin Fest. We'll be right back. And welcome back to Perspectives. Our very special guest today, Dr. Leda Javier Farrell and Sylvia Skultety. They're both here today to join us talking about the National Heritage Month as well as Latin Fest. We got into that a little bit. Let's go back, if we could, step back a little bit to 15 years ago when the organization was started by two ladies, and you happen to be one of those ladies, to bring this together to talk with others from the community and say, we need to do this. What was the catalyst for that?
Well, we started noticing that there were Hispanics in a lot of positions, and every day I was working at that time at the Chamber of Commerce, so I had a lot of going out to businesses and talking to people, and every day we met somebody that didn't know, and it says, I've never met anybody that's Hispanic. And so we found about some of the large Hispanic businesses that are in town, but they are sort of like, under the radar. So we needed some kind of networking, and the chamber was very, very good at saying, Leda, go for it. We need to outreach to these businesses because they're part of our economic fiber. So I was in a privileged position. Sylvia was one of the original ones, and also there is an accountant in the other side of the bay, Mario Castaneda, and we are from the original group. And he's been our accountant at no cost for 15 years, which is great. The volunteers of this organization are fantastic. So we needed that. I kept getting names and putting them in lists, like names of all the doctors that are in town from Latin America and other Spanish, because people were asking, I need a doctor that speaks Spanish. So we started making lists. And I said, we need to do this in a more formal way. We are not a paying organization. You belong if you want to belong, and you get in our list, and we send you information, and you send us questions, and we try to answer them. So, but aside from that, we're doing other community service, aside from just the Latin Fest, which is a landmark thing in this town.
And one of the things that you do have some great rewards for the youth of your community. Before you talk about that particular thing, how important is it for your children and grandchildren to see the community coming together here in this land?
You know, that's what we do because we want our next generation. I have two kids, you know, they're gringos, Brazilians, and my husband's from Bolivia. So I want them to experience, you know, our culture, learn our culture. You know, I've been involved with the International Festival for a long time. They were little, grew up, and saw how diverse we are, how many countries. And the same thing we need to do with the Latin community. You know, for me, it's very important to showcase those kids, our culture, our music, our food, our dance, you know. So that's what makes us work so hard to make this happen.
And it's important to understand the same thing happened with the Greek families in town, or the Irish, or the Italians. They want to get a little bit of that made them what they are and pass it down. So yes, my grandson eats my rice and beans and my food, and he loves it, and he goes and helps us. But he doesn't speak a lot of Spanish. But it's one of those things that at least they know the culture. They know, hey, my grandma is here trying to do something in this community for us and for others, because it's for a lot of people.
Right. Yeah, it's so important for the kids. And so one of the things that you do through the organization, you provide some steps to the next level for the kids. I'll let you all tell exactly what it is.
We do. You know, actually, through our sponsors, to our partners, you know, and the money that we raise in the festival, we'll be able to provide scholarships. You know, later tonight was put some numbers together. We have give over 100,000 scholarships, 100,000 scholarships. This year we gave about 7 students, you know, scholarships. So we want to give back to the community. Is about also to show those kids, you know, that thrive in the community, giving back. We have engineers, we have nurses, we have so many students, and we want to make sure that we want to help them, and also for them to give back to the community
in the future.
Very good lessons to be teaching and showing. So you also have a new venture that involves a certain part of the business community as well. Why don't you share that about the Continental Kitchen?
Well, all this started with Latin Fest, because that first year that we only had 5 people that actually had the documentation to sell food there, we noticed that, man, we have a problem, because our Hispanic people don't know how to get their licenses, don't know how to get their food handlers. They don't know how to have a business, a food business. They were selling their food, but they didn't. So it took Sylvia and I don't know how many meetings with the city to find out what are the minimum requirements that somebody needs to sell in a festival. So we ended up with the peddler's license after an hour of meeting, and everybody bouncing everything.
Several meetings later, but we have this down now.
But anyway, but we noticed that, and I said, my God, all these people want to have a business, small business. They have the language, they have other handicaps. It's not the way they do it in their countries. So we got a small grant from Mobile United to do certification classes. Just start with that. So Bishop State and Coastal Alabama partnered with us, and we did certification classes in Spanish. And these people could start at least getting some information on how to start a business. Now, part of that, it was a dream. In the first time that we met, I said, well, the dream would be eventually to do a commissary kitchen, so they have a shared kitchen incubator so they can start their business. County Commissioner Merceria Ludgood heard us. And she's a very progressive, incredible woman. So she asked us to write the proposal, and we wrote it. Fortunately, we had the funds from the American Rescue Plan, that is a workforce development and economic development money, which is perfect for what we were going to do. So we got the grants, and for a year we worked.
Yeah, well, first was the location, you know, to find the perfect location, because it has to fit all the criteria, because it's just for the kitchen, also for education, you know, so that was the main thing, was find a location. Luckily, we find a great location.
Fortunately, we have a realtor that helped us a lot. But yes, after finding the location, we had to do a business plan. We had to do so many things to accept the money, just to accept. I don't want to accept money until we think that we can do it. So we got a lot of information from the innovation portal, from other people that helped us in many ways. And we decided to jump in, and we did a building that is beautiful, non-profit commissary kitchens at the front of the house. So we have a venue in the front for activities, your Christmas parties, your birthday parties. Find us. The Continental Commissary Kitchen is a project of the Hispanic American Business Association for small minority businesses.
And before we run out of time, it's located on Azalea. Do you also have certain opportunities where the public can come in
Yes.
and sample their wares?
Well, only if they separate or bring a family or rent. It's not a cafeteria.
Right.
It's not a restaurant.
Right.
It's just a venue in the front so that the chefs in the back start practicing to see if they can open eventually a storefront, a restaurant, and without spending all that money. Come and visit us.
We will. And
Next activity is
I've seen some pictures. And
Next activity is a Puerto Rican food encounter on the 17th as part of this celebration of this month.
I
And
look forward to having both Puerto Rican and Brazilian.
Yes.
Get a chance to do that. So as we close up here, we've got about a minute left.
Latin
What's the
Fest,
message that you want to
October
lay?
12th,
Okay.
this October 12th at Mardi Gras Park.
Yeah, we're going to have several activities at lineup, live music, delicious food, October 12th at Mardi Gras Park. We're going to start 12 o'clock to 9 o'clock. Come and bring your family. We're going to have a tent from PNC that's called Mobile Learning Adventure. That's going to be great for the kids.
Excellent.
And be ready to party. Bring your flag. We're not going to have a parade this year because of we're not on the Quasito Square.
Right.
But we're going to have the dance of the flag called Danza de la Bandera.
If you're
Ladies,
hearing
let
it's too
me-
late, next year.
Okay, don't forget
Second
it.
weekend of October.
Ladies, thank you both for coming and sharing today, and of course, wish you continued success
Thank
with
you.
all the different things that are bringing the community together.
Thank you so much.
We thank you for joining us today, too. Have a great week.